What's the hidden advantage? Unlock the secrets to spotting and sidestepping widespread economic myths. Economics is everywhere, and understanding economics can help you make better decisions and lead a happier life. Tyler Cowen. Are you frustrated by the persistent crises plaguing our society, such as inequality and urban decay? Do you ever wonder why, despite numerous policies and reforms, these problems seem to persist or even worsen? The answer may lie in widespread economic fallacies that cloud our understanding and decision-making. Misunderstanding these issues can lead to ineffective solutions and exacerbate the very problems we're trying to solve. In a world where misconceptions abound, it's crucial to identify and correct these fallacies for better economic outcomes. First, consider rent control policies, which are often implemented with the intention of making housing more affordable. However, such policies can be counterproductive. By capping rents, landlords may have less incentive to maintain and improve their properties, leading to a decline in the quality of housing. Moreover, rent control can reduce the supply of available housing as developers might find it less profitable to build new rental units. Understanding the unintended consequences of rent control helps us appreciate the complexities of housing policy and the importance of market incentives. Next, let's revisit the 1929 stock market crash. Commonly portrayed as a catastrophic event that led directly to the Great Depression, this crash is often misunderstood. While it did contribute to economic turmoil, it was not the sole cause of the Great Depression. Other factors, such as poor policy responses and banking failures, played significant roles. By recognizing the multifaceted causes of economic downturns, we can better prepare for and mitigate the effects of future crises, avoiding the pitfalls of oversimplified historical narratives. Urban improvement projects are another area where fallacious thinking can lead to suboptimal outcomes. These projects often aim to revitalize deteriorating areas, but they can inadvertently displace longtime residents and erode community ties. Gentrification, a common result of such projects, can increase property values and living costs, making neighborhoods less accessible to lower-income families. A nuanced understanding of urban policy reveals the need for inclusive development strategies that balance growth with community preservation. Wealth inequality is a hotly debated topic, and misunderstandings here can fuel ineffective policies. For example, some argue for heavy taxation on the wealthy as a means to reduce inequality. While this approach may address symptoms, it doesn't tackle underlying causes like unequal access to quality education and healthcare. Effective solutions require addressing root issues and creating opportunities for upward mobility rather than relying solely on redistributive policies. Recognizing these common economic fallacies empowers us to think more clearly about the challenges we face. By scrutinizing popular narratives and examining evidence-based outcomes, we can develop more effective policies and solutions. This critical thinking approach not only helps in formulating better economic strategies but also fosters a deeper understanding of how our actions and policies impact society. So, what's in it for you? By learning to identify and avoid these economic misconceptions, you can make more informed decisions as a voter, consumer, and member of society. Your improved understanding can contribute to more rational public discourse and more effective policies, ultimately leading to a better future for all. As we conclude, ponder this: how many of your beliefs about economic issues might be influenced by common misconceptions? Challenge yourself to think critically, seek out reliable information, and question the status quo. If you found this discussion enlightening, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to deliver valuable content that empowers you to make informed decisions. Thank you. Let's jump into it. Are economic transactions always a win-lose game? Often, politicians and campaigners, driven by good intentions, end up enacting policies that do more harm than good. This typically happens when their decisions are fueled by emotions and moral outrage rather than sound logic. One common misconception they fall prey to is the idea that every economic transaction produces a winner and a loser, leading to zero-sum outcomes. The central idea here is simple: the notion of zero-sum economic outcomes is a fallacy. In reality, many well-meaning but ultimately harmful economic policies are based on this erroneous belief. Take rent control, for example. Advocates of zero-sum thinking see renting as a transaction where the landlord always wins at the renter's expense. Therefore, they argue that renters need protection in the form of rent control. Historically, rent control has had disastrous consequences. Landlords find the terms of rent control unacceptable, leading them to stop renting out properties, while builders halt the construction of new housing. This results in a scarcity of accommodation, harming those who need to rent the most. For instance, After the Australian government implemented rent controls post-World War II, Melbourne saw no new apartment buildings for years. Zero-sum thinking also manifests in views on international trade. Some believe that in trade, rich, highly developed countries always win, while poorer, less developed countries lose. They argue that powerful countries exploit the vulnerabilities of their poorer counterparts. However, this view overlooks the prosperity that trade can bring to developing nations. Countries like South Korea, Hong Kong, and Singapore have thrived by opening up to investment from wealthier Western nations. This has led to mutual benefits, debunking the zero-sum fallacy. Both parties in these exchanges have reaped substantial rewards, demonstrating that economic interactions can indeed be win-win situations. In conclusion, understanding the fallacy of zero-sum economic thinking is crucial. Recognizing that economic transactions can benefit all involved parties allows for better policymaking and more prosperous outcomes for everyone. As the famous economist Adam Smith once said, "The wealth of nations depends on the division of labor and the extent of market opportunities." This insight remains as relevant today as it was centuries ago, encouraging us to think beyond zero-sum paradigms. The persistent problem of the post hoc fallacy in politics. A recurring issue in politics is the post hoc fallacy. This fallacy arises from the Latin phrase post hoc ergo propter hoc, meaning after this, therefore because of this. In simpler terms, it suggests that if Y follows X, then X must have caused Y. This erroneous belief can lead to severe misjudgments in politics and economics. The key message here is, the post hoc fallacy is a frequent problem in political decision-making. Misunderstanding causality can result in catastrophic decisions, as illustrated by several notorious examples. One such case involved the pesticide DDT in the mid-20th century. DDT was banned in the US in 1972, followed by similar actions worldwide, due to concerns that it caused cancer. Initially, this seemed plausible, as cancer rates had risen in areas where DDT was used. However, this was a classic post hoc fallacy. DDT's effectiveness in reducing malaria allowed people to live longer, thus increasing their chances of developing cancer later in life. Banning DDT, therefore, was a grave mistake, leading to a resurgence of mosquitoes and a spike in malaria deaths. Another example is the belief that the 1929 stock market crash caused the Great Depression and subsequent unemployment. The common narrative claims that the crash precipitated a prolonged economic crisis. However, unemployment rates actually began to improve shortly after the crash, deteriorating only after government intervention. This suggests that policymakers wrongly attributed the economic downturn to the stock market crash, a clear instance of the post hoc fallacy. The truth eventually prevails, as seen in the aftermath of the 1987 stock market crash. Contrary to expectations, the economy continued to grow despite the market downturn. This further debunks the notion that stock market crashes necessarily lead to prolonged economic crises. In conclusion, understanding the post hoc fallacy is crucial for effective policymaking. Avoiding this fallacy can prevent costly mistakes and lead to better outcomes in politics and economics. As Albert Einstein wisely noted, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Recognizing and avoiding logical fallacies is a critical step toward smarter decision-making. The pitfall of open-ended demands in progressive politics. The open-ended fallacy is a significant issue for those with progressive political demands. Consider the statement, "We should improve healthcare." At first glance, this seems uncontroversial, with few disagreeing. However, when we delve deeper, the specifics of what improving healthcare entails become murky. Should we invest billions in cancer research or use those funds to address skin rashes? This ambiguity underscores the challenge of open-ended demands, which lack clear parameters and objectives. The key message here is, the open-ended fallacy poses a problem for progressive political demands. Without specifying goals and limits, such demands can become impractical and unattainable. The open-ended fallacy ensures that the job is never done. No matter the achievements, there is always room for improvement. Healthcare can always be enhanced, streets can always be safer, and air can always be cleaner. However, this mindset risks leading politicians to allocate disproportionate resources to a few high-profile issues, potentially neglecting other important areas. The allure of addressing emotive, wide-reaching problems often results in expanded bureaucracies aimed at tackling these perpetual issues, which can never be fully resolved. Moreover, the open-ended fallacy manifests as unlimited extrapolation, such as the belief that urban sprawl is a never-ending cycle of development. This view assumes that the creation of more roads, houses, and shops will perpetually necessitate even more infrastructure. However, this overlooks the reality that the supply of people is finite. Each person moving to a new area decreases the population of their previous location, resulting in no net increase in societal crowding. The open-ended fallacy highlights the necessity for precise, targeted goals in political demands. Without clear definitions and limits, well-intentioned policies can lead to inefficient resource allocation and the creation of unwieldy bureaucratic structures. Understanding and avoiding this fallacy is crucial for effective and balanced policymaking, ensuring that progress is both meaningful and sustainable. The pitfall of the fallacy of composition in economic policy. The fallacy of composition is a common error that undermines effective economic policy. Imagine someone saying, "The door to the house is made of wood, therefore the whole house must be made of wood." Clearly, this is flawed logic. This fallacy assumes that what is true for a part must be true for the whole. In politics, this translates to governments supporting specific groups, cities, or industries with the expectation that these measures will benefit everyone. The focus on individual parts often leads to neglect of the bigger picture. The key message here is, the fallacy of composition is a significant issue in economic policy. Consider how local governments attempt to revitalize certain city districts and neighborhoods. They operate under the belief that revamping a rundown area will yield economic benefits for the entire region. However, this often results in a fallacy of composition. When a neighborhood is improved, it attracts profitable enterprises and high-income individuals, displacing less successful businesses and poorer residents. This shift offers no net benefit to the broader economy. Despite this, governments persist with massive improvement projects. On a national level, these initiatives typically achieve little more than disrupting established neighborhoods, relocating unwilling residents, and squandering billions in tax dollars. The fallacy of composition frequently involves government spending on select projects with the argument that such investments will benefit the whole economy. The belief is that government funds will create new jobs and generate tax revenues. However, this perspective often fails to recognize the broader economic impact and redistribution of resources. Does this mean governments should avoid improvement projects altogether? The author suggests that funds are better left in the hands of taxpayers, who are more likely to spend money on what they find essential. This approach minimizes the risk of falling into the fallacy of composition and promotes a more efficient allocation of resources. Academic institutions aren't subject to the same standards as businesses. Imagine a business selling a useless product, like a wind-up frog that does nothing. Such a business would quickly fail, with shareholders and directors stepping in long before bankruptcy to demand change. This accountability ensures businesses provide value. However, academia doesn't operate under the same pressures and incentives, and this discrepancy presents a problem. The key message here is, academic institutions aren't subject to the same standards and expectations as business. In the business world, profitability is paramount. Companies must meet the needs and preferences of their customers or face failure. Unprofitable businesses lose investment and eventually cease to exist. This accountability keeps businesses aligned with consumer demand and efficiency. In contrast, many educational institutions, particularly nonprofits, don't face this level of scrutiny. They receive funding from taxpayers, foundations, and donors, who often have little say in how the money is used. This lack of direct accountability allows academic institutions to operate without the same pressure to provide tangible value. The result is that academic institutions can offer qualifications and conduct research that may be substandard or irrelevant to broader societal needs. While some academic research is undoubtedly valuable, much of it only benefits those within the academic sphere. This misalignment between funding sources and beneficiaries leads to the accumulation of research that often has little practical application. Moreover, as much of this research is subsidized by external sources, there are few constraints on its scope. Consequently, vast amounts of research can be produced without real-world relevance, merely gathering dust in university libraries. This raises the question, if much of this work has no practical use, what is its value to society at large? Statistics and misconceptions of wealth inequality. Mark Twain famously quipped, "There are three kinds of lies, damned lies, and statistics." This adage underscores the potential for statistics to mislead when presented without proper context, especially when it comes to understanding wealth inequality. The key message here is, statistics can lead to an inaccurate understanding of wealth inequality. In politics and public discourse, statistics are often wielded to highlight the stark disparities in wealth distribution. However, relying solely on income statistics can paint an incomplete picture. For instance, income figures typically reflect pre-tax earnings, skewing perceptions of actual wealth disparities. In reality, after accounting for taxes, the income gap between wealthy and lower-income individuals narrows significantly. Moreover, these statistics often overlook important factors such as government assistance and subsidies, which play a crucial role in augmenting the economic resources available to lower-income households. Failing to account for these supplementary benefits can grossly underestimate the actual living standards of those with lower incomes. The danger of misinterpreting such statistics lies in fostering the misconception that the wealth of the wealthy is inherently derived from the poverty of the poor. This fallacy perpetuates the zero-sum mindset, where one group's gain is seen as directly causing another's loss. In truth, this oversimplification ignores the dynamic and complex interactions within economies. Consider the United States, where a significant number of billionaires reside. Despite this concentration of wealth, average Americans do not rank among the poorest globally. This stark contrast challenges the notion that extreme wealth necessarily equates to widespread poverty among the general population. Therefore, the lesson here is clear: don't accept statistics at face value when forming opinions about wealth inequality. Instead, approach data with critical scrutiny and seek to understand the context behind the numbers. Only by doing so can we gain a more nuanced and accurate perspective on economic disparities and avoid falling prey to misleading interpretations that fuel divisive narratives. The fallacy of blaming Western nations for global poverty. Walter Rodney's influential book, How Europe Undeveloped Africa, encapsulates a pervasive idea that blames Europe for Africa's poverty due to historical exploitation. This narrative extends beyond Africa, attributing Indian poverty to British colonialism and issues in South America to actions by the US and Canada. However, this simplistic view oversimplifies complex historical realities, argues the author. The key message here is, the idea that Western nations are solely responsible for the poverty of poorer nations is a fallacy. Instead of placing blame on Western nations for impoverishing regions like Africa, the author suggests that geography plays a significant role. Geography influences the exchange of ideas and technologies among cultures. In Eurasia, few geographical barriers hindered cultural exchange, fostering technological advancements and prosperity over centuries. Conversely, regions isolated by natural barriers such as deserts or oceans experienced limited cultural and technological exchange. This isolation hindered their development compared to more interconnected regions. Moreover, historical dynamics demonstrate that nations and empires rise and fall over time. The Islamic world, for instance, thrived culturally and technologically during the Middle Ages, surpassing Northern Europe in many aspects. This historical flux underscores the transient nature of prosperity and the complexities behind the rise and fall of civilizations. Throughout human history, equality in development has never existed. Nations and regions undergo continual transformations, shifting between periods of prosperity and struggle for various reasons. Recognizing this broader historical context helps avoid oversimplifications and fallacious attributions of blame. In conclusion, understanding the nuanced factors influencing global disparities is crucial. It challenges us to look beyond simplistic narratives that assign sole responsibility to Western nations for the poverty of other regions. By embracing a more comprehensive view of history and geography, we gain insights into the diverse and multifaceted causes of global inequality. Final summary: dispelling economic fallacies. Throughout these insights, we've explored recurring economic fallacies that persistently misguide policy and strategic thinking. From the zero-sum fallacy, which falsely assumes every economic exchange has winners and losers, to the fallacy of composition, which mistakes the attributes of a part for those of the whole, these misconceptions have hindered progress in various domains, including environmentalism and poverty alleviation. Overcoming these fallacies is essential to effectively addressing global challenges. Actionable advice. To navigate through these pitfalls. Firstly, avoid making decisions based purely on emotions. When confronted with news or issues that provoke an emotional response, take a moment to step back and assess the situation objectively. Emotions can obscure critical thinking and lead to hasty conclusions. Secondly, strive to gather comprehensive information before forming opinions. Ensure you have a complete understanding of the context surrounding a situation. Often, initial reports or narratives lack crucial details that can significantly alter perceptions. Lastly, cultivate a habit of examining issues from multiple perspectives. This practice helps in gaining a more nuanced understanding of complex problems. By considering different viewpoints, you can avoid falling prey to oversimplified or misleading arguments. As Mark Twain famously said, There are three kinds of lies: lies, damned lies, and statistics. This quote reminds us of the importance of critical thinking and context when interpreting data and information. Thank you for exploring these insights with us. If you found this discussion valuable, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue delivering thoughtful analyses and fostering informed discussions on important topics. Together, we can dispel economic fallacies and contribute to shaping a more informed and equitable future.